Okay, so here we go. This is my first video. It's probably gonna suck. I'm definitely gonna have to get some better equipment as time goes by. Right now I'm just using my phone, but I've been thinking about doing some type of reviews about wrestling, and the one that I've been obsessed with recently has been the Okada versus Kenny Omega match from Wrestle Kingdom 11. I've watched it once. I just finished watching it for a second time. First of all, uh, I'm a fan of Stone Cold podcast. I check it out from time to time, and he did a episode where he was interviewing Dave Meltzer, and he was saying, Dave Meltzer was saying that he believed that the first viewing didn't give it justice. He had to watch it a second time because the second time that you watch it, since it's like a movie, once you know what's coming next, instead of focusing on what's coming next, you can focus more on what's happening now, and you can catch the subtleties and the nuances and pick up on things that you didn't see the first time around, that you didn't catch, that you didn't notice. So I agree with him 100%. The second time was even better because you could focus, since you knew, like, oh, he's fixing to do this move next, you could focus on how he did the move, how well he executed it. You could focus more on like the facial expressions, the overall storytelling, the selling of the moves. So first of all, I just want to say that yes, this is one of those matches that you have to watch more than once to fully appreciate. Okay. The second thing is that I want to say, fuck Jim Cornette. He's an asshole because I always try to be a fan of his. And for years, I've heard a lot of people in the wrestling world basically talk about him bad, want to say, oh, he's just a bitter old school manager that hates anything new. And I always tried to give him the benefit of a doubt. But when I listened to his review of this match, I realized that yes, they're absolutely right. Because half his review was him basically bitching about the fact that he has a personal bias against Kenny Omega that boils down to he was wrestling with Ring of Honor. He had a commitment to do a match at a Battle of Los Angeles with Pro Wrestling Guerrilla in 2009. And he backed out saying he had injured his ankle and couldn't make it. But he really had took off to go wrestle with Japan. And it was all bullshit. And I can understand being mad about that. But here we are 8 years later, and this man puts on one of the greatest matches of all time. A match that Dave Meltzer broke the scale and gave 6 stars instead of 5. And you're going to completely berate and make derisive comments about the entire match, not even give Okada his due diligence, because you have a personal bias against Kenny Omega for some shit that happened 8 years ago when he was a lot younger and was a lot greener. And obviously, didn't know the proper way to do business. You can't get over that. On top of the fact that he basically hated everything about it because nothing about the match was old school, like late 70s, early 80s wrestling, So yeah, I just wanted to say, fuck Jim Cornette. I'm officially on that bandwagon now. At this point, I could care less. Even Brian Zane from Wrestling with Regret has distanced himself from Jim Cornette. He used to appear in a lot of his older videos and material, but even he doesn't seem to have hardly anything to do with Cornette at this point. Even though, he still features him in his intro and he still mentions his name from time to time, he just doesn't seem to collaborate with him as much. So I feel like even Brian Zane has realized that Jim Cornette's just not somebody you want to associate with when discussing modern professional wrestling. You want to talk to him about old school stuff, that's great, but new school, no, stay away. But anyway, getting back to the point of this video, which is the match. I just had to say, first of all, holy shit. It's hard to even put into words because it's like, I don't even know where to begin. One of the things Jim Cornette says in his review is that people are calling it the perfect match. And according to him, there's no such thing. It's never happened. Because the perfect match is this and the perfect match is that. But in reality, this match actually meets almost all of the criteria that he states. There's practically no botching whatsoever. There's no obvious spot calling. It seems almost choreographed, like the Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage match from WrestleMania 3, where Randy Savage sat down with a legal pad and wrote every single point of that match down from beginning to end, and they practiced it. It was 100% choreographed, which is why it's one of the most beautiful matches you could ever watch. This is up there. This is Steamboat Savage level of, like, perfection. But it's also a perfect blend of fast-paced, high-paced, high-risk maneuvers like Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, TLC type shit from like the early 2000s, with the perfect blend of technical wrestling and mat wrestling, along with power moves, power bombs and body slams and things of that sort. They're both rather tall guys, rather well built, but they're not huge, muscly mountain of men. They're no Braun Strowman types or Goldbergs, but they're not like Rey Mysterio either. They're that perfect blend. They're tall, they're well built, but they're not overly huge, overly muscly. So they can be fast paced and still do power moves. But like I say, the main thing is the storytelling was amazing, beginning to end. They tell a great story. They tease at things. They hint at things. The majority of the moves you see are perfectly fucking executed. One that stands out to me is when Kenny Omega does the missile drop kick from the top rope. They even show the replay in slow motion. Both of his feet make full contact on Okada's head. You can see Okada's head almost do this whiplash thing. And he doesn't just fall over. He crumples like he was hit devastatingly hard. He sells it perfect. But it was so well executed that I'm sure his bell may have been rung a little bit. He may have been out of it for a second. Because anybody get kicked in the head like that, it's going to hurt. But it wasn't done so hard that it hurt him seriously. But it was done well enough that it looked devastating. All I can say is all the wrestling I've watched, watching old school, new school, WWE Network, YouTube, anything I can find, I've watched hundreds, thousands of freaking hours of wrestling at this point. I've never seen a missile drop kick that looked that real, that perfect. Because to me, the perfect move is where it looks like it was done to where it looks like it was done in a serious manner. Like, oh, they weren't acting. He really hurt him. But it really didn't. When you can make it look like that guy shouldn't have got up and walked away from that, but the guy can still get up and walk away from it. That is like perfect execution. And then his selling of it was perfect. He didn't do the old school Hogan, like,